Ever stop to think how much a simple question like, what's your favorite food,
Yeah.
can actually tell you about someone?
Oh, absolutely. Their
Yeah.
background, memories, maybe even their values. Right?
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this because today on the Dick Dive, we're doing just that.
Mm-hmm.
Our source for this exploration is a really fascinating peek into a conversation. It's from a YouTube transcript,
Right.
and it covers everything from like language learning strategies to, the differences between city and countryside living. It's quite a mix.
And what's so interesting, I think, about this kind of source material is how something focused on, say, IELTS speaking practice
Yeah.
can accidentally open up these much broader insights, how people see the world around them.
Totally. It's more than just the words they're using.
It really is. It's like a tapestry of personal views.
Precisely. So for you, our listener, this isn't just about maybe brushing up on communication skills, though, there are definitely some useful bits there. Think of this as a quick but pretty thorough way to get different viewpoints on everyday stuff.
Like what we eat, where we travel.
Yeah, exactly. And even the kind of place we prefer to live. So we've sifted through this unique source. It's basically a natural chat covering loads of topics, and they're getting speaking feedback at the same time.
Which is a really interesting layer.
It is. And our mission here is just to pull out the most, interesting and thought-provoking bits for you without, drowning you in information.
And looking at it, analyzing these everyday chats can really show subtle cultural norms, individual priorities, things that might stay hidden in, like, a more formal setting.
Good point. It's finding the meaning in the seemingly ordinary.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's dive into something we can all connect with. Food.
Always a good starting point.
Right. The conversation sort of kicks off with that classic question, what's your favorite food? And the first answer is Thai curry.
Right.
A popular choice, yeah.
Can't go wrong with Thai curry.
But then it quickly broadens out to, like, a real appreciation for Asian cuisines generally.
Oh, okay.
Mentions of Vietnamese pho, Korean kimchi, described as mind-blowing.
Wow. Okay. High praise.
Yeah. And here's where it gets interesting. There's also a love for Indian food and a clear preference for cooking at home.
Oh, interesting. Why is that?
Well, the feeling seems to be that the home-cooked version is just better.
Right. That preference for cooking at home, it could suggest a few things, couldn't it? Maybe wanting healthier food or a stronger connection to, like, cultural traditions?
Or maybe just pride in their own cooking.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, or simply the satisfaction of making it yourself. Comparing it favorably to eating out definitely hints at a personal standard.
Absolutely. And then we get this lovely glimpse into childhood. The
Oh.
favorite food back then, Indian khichdi.
Khichdi, okay. Rice and lentils.
Yeah, simple porridge with ghee, basic spices, remembered as just pure comfort food.
Oh, that's lovely. It's
Yeah.
amazing how those early food memories stick with you, isn't it?
It really is. And looking ahead, there's this interest in trying South American food, specifically Peruvian.
Oh, okay. Venturing out.
Yeah, showing an openness to new flavors after enjoying so many others.
That idea of comfort food is fascinating culturally. Khichdi being so simple probably represents not just a taste, but a feeling. Security, nostalgia.
Tied to home, childhood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And wanting to try Peruvian food, well, that just speaks to a wider curiosity, doesn't it, about global cultures wanting to explore beyond the familiar.
Okay, so from the kitchen table, let's talk travel, dream destinations.
Right.
Favorite holiday spot mentioned is Bali.
Ah, Bali. Popular choice.
Yeah, praised for the tropical climate. Interestingly, the heat and humidity are seen as a plus.
Some people love that.
Apparently. And just the overall positive vibe. Then we hear about a dream trip. Peru.
Ah, Peru again.
Yeah, but the plan was unfortunately put on hold. Brazil was part of that itinerary, too.
A shame. Global events getting in the way, perhaps?
Seems likely. It mentions probably COVID. It always makes you wonder about those trips that almost happened,
Definitely. Bali's appeal is that tropical escape is pretty common, though. Wanting warmth, relaxation.
Yeah.
And the mention of the postponed Peru trip, it adds that personal touch, shows how bigger things affect our individual plans.
True. Now, if you're looking for travel tips within India,
Okay.
both Ladakh and Kerala get called heaven on earth, high praise.
Wow, both.
Yeah, but Ladakh is preferred, specifically for its diverse landscapes.
Oh, okay. What kind of landscapes?
Mountains, snow caps, rocky bits, greenery. Quite the mix.
So a real contrast to the tropical feel of Bali, then.
Totally. And this leads into a discussion about preferring nature holidays over city breaks.
Okay, that makes sense given the Ladakh preference.
Right. For this person, nature is like grounding, calming. Cities, on the other hand, can feel draining.
I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling, needing that reset in nature.
Me included.
Yeah. This contrast, it suggests maybe needing different kinds of experiences at different times. Bali for relaxation, Ladakh for maybe adventure, and that immersion in really dramatic scenery. And avoiding cities points to wanting to escape that urban intensity.
Makes sense. Okay, shifting gears a bit. Daily routines. Drinks.
Hydration, very important.
Indeed. So typical breakfast includes water and then the essential morning masala chai.
Ah, the spiced Indian tea, a daily ritual for so many.
Absolutely. And there's a conscious effort to drink 2 to 3 liters of water a day.
Good habit.
And hospitality comes up too. If you're a dinner guest in India,
Yes.
you'll likely be offered hot drinks, tea, coffee, or cold options like Coca-Cola, Fanta, Lima,
Common soft drinks, yeah.
or maybe something a bit fancier like lemonade.
Yeah.
It's interesting how these everyday habits really reflect cultural norms, you know.
Yeah, they really do. These seemingly small details about drinks and offering them to guests, they open a window onto cultural practices, social etiquette. Offering both hot and cold is common courtesy. And the specific soft drinks give a glimpse into what's popular there.
Right. Okay, last bit for part 1, navigation.
Ah, maps.
Yep. Unsurprisingly, phone maps are the main tool, even just for walks or runs.
For wandering around without worrying about getting lost.
Exactly, that freedom. And when visiting a new city, the strategy is sort of twofold. Use maps for the bigger picture.
Get the layout.
Download offline versions, definitely. But also leave room for just spontaneous exploring within that.
A nice balance. Planning meets wandering.
Yeah. And driving. Apparently easy to follow maps, thanks to things like Google Maps.
Lifesavers sometimes.
Tell me about it. Our speaker even identifies as the designated navigator among their friends.
Huh. Someone has to be. I'm sure that sounds familiar to a lot of people listening.
I bet. The reliance on digital maps, it's really changed how we explore, hasn't it?
Fundamentally, gives you confidence to venture out. That mix of planning and spontaneity seems like a very modern approach to travel.
Okay, let's change direction now for part 2. We're focusing more on city life, different perspectives, observations.
Right.
And we actually revisit the favorite city to visit. And guess what? It's still Bali.
Sticking with Bali makes sense given the earlier points.
Yeah, and they even considered settling there. Ease of travel, just hopping on a flight is a big plus.
Convenience factor.
But the real appeal seems to be this combination of things. The tropical weather, obviously, stunning scenery, beaches, nature, those iconic rice paddies.
Beautiful.
And really importantly, the vegan-friendly food, described as stress-free and tasty.
That's a huge draw for vegans, finding good food easily.
Totally. And then there's a strong yoga scene. The first trip was actually for a yoga retreat.
Ah, okay.
And there's this long-term dream of maybe hosting retreats there, even having a yoga studio/vegan cafe.
Wow, so it's more than just a holiday spot. It represents a whole lifestyle aspiration.
Exactly. And the final piece, it's considered pretty affordable, both living and travel. It really does paint an attractive picture.
It does. Bali's allure as more than just a vacation spot is really clear there. Climate, nature, lifestyle choices like veganism and yoga, plus the practical economics.
It all comes together.
Yeah, it makes it compelling for visits and maybe even long-term living. Wanting to start a business there, that shows a deep connection, doesn't it? A desire for a different way of life.
Definitely. But then, interestingly, the conversation shifts to why some people prefer city holidays.
Okay, the other side of the coin.
Yeah. The usual reasons come up, lots to do, movies, shopping, that sort of thing.
The hustle and bustle.
Right, which is contrasted with the speaker's own preference for nature, though they do mention their husband enjoys London for the shows and shopping.
Ah, okay. So different preferences within the same household.
Exactly. It really highlights how subjective travel choices are, based on our interests.
It really does. Cities offer that stimulation, entertainment for some. Nature provides peace, escape for others. It's a fundamental difference in how we recharge, isn't it?
Yeah. The discussion then touches on the cost of city holidays.
Uh-oh. Usually expensive?
Generally, yeah. The feeling is they tend to be pricier, partly due to commercialization. The example given is like expensive, fancy three-wheelers in central London.
Tourist traps.
Maybe. And the feeling you have to pay for everything, even water sometimes. It illustrates that point that city convenience often comes with a Well, a hefty price tag.
That feeling of constant commercialization, paying for basics,
Hmm.
it's a common observation about city tourism, definitely.
Hmm.
Raises questions about accessibility, affordability.
Then there's the question of traveling alone versus with others in a city.
Ooh, interesting one. What's the take?
It's seen as really subjective, personal preference.
Makes sense.
Some people value going solo for more focused experience,
Yeah.
really taking things in at their own pace.
Right.
Others prefer company, sharing the experiences, the memories, like going to a show together, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it really depends on what you want from the trip. Solo travel allows for introspection, tailored experiences, while traveling together strengthens bonds, creates those shared moments, different motivations.
Exactly. Now, thinking bigger picture, why do big cities keep getting bigger?
The seemingly unstoppable growth.
Right. The conversation points to, well, commercialization again, driving up prices,
Hmm.
and also migration. People moving from smaller towns, smaller cities, looking for opportunities.
Yeah, the classic pull factors.
It creates this cycle, doesn't it, where the major urban centers just keep
It
expanding.
really underscores those global economic and social forces behind urbanization. Big cities concentrate jobs, services,
Yeah.
leading to higher demand, higher costs.
And of course, with these mega cities come the downsides.
Always trade-offs.
Yep. High cost of living is mentioned, especially rent, just huge demand.
Housing crisis in many big cities.
Exactly. Also, feeling out of touch from nature, the concrete jungle idea,
Mhm.
and potentially less social connection, even loneliness, despite being surrounded by people.
Yeah, those are really common concerns about quality of life in huge cities.
Right.
They offer opportunities, sure, but also big challenges. Affordability, environment, social well-being,
And looking to the future of large cities.
crystal ball time.
Sort of. There's a prediction of, well, more technological advancement, more efficiency maybe,
It seems inevitable.
but also a worry, a concern about maybe losing some of our humanity,
Yeah.
becoming more, I don't know, robotic,
Mhm.
machine-based.
Wow, that's a heavy thought.
It is a bit unsettling, yeah, but definitely thought-provoking.
That future view touches on technology's impact on city life, doesn't it? Raises big questions about balancing progress with keeping human connection, authentic experiences,
Yeah,
especially in increasingly automated places.
yeah. Okay, final topic in part 2, raising children, cities versus the countryside.
The age-old debate.
And there's a clear bias here towards the countryside.
Okay, why is that?
Wanting to avoid the chaos of city life, the natural environment is even described as a form of meditation, like the simple act of walking on grass.
That really highlights a belief in nature's positive influence on kids, doesn't it? Contrasting the perceived stress and overstimulation of the city with the calmer, more grounding countryside.
And the potential advantages of a countryside upbringing.
What are they seen as?
Calmer children, maybe less focused on tech,
Interesting.
but with maybe better emotional resilience, stronger mental capacity to handle stress.
Compared to city kids.
Yeah, the implication is city kids might face more pressure, be more stressed. It's an interesting take on how environment shapes development.
It draws a clear line, suggesting cities might offer certain advantages, sure, but the countryside could be better for, perhaps, emotional well-being and resilience. It's a viewpoint.
Okay, wow. We've covered a lot of ground there. Favorite meals, future cities.
A real journey.
Right. Now, for part 3, we get a bit more direct, looking at language learning insight.
Okay.
But it comes through the feedback given on the actual speaking performance in that original conversation.
Right, so it's like a case study in communication. What's valuable here is seeing how specific things are evaluated, like in an IELTS test.
Exactly.
But these principles, they often just apply to good communication generally, don't they?
Absolutely. So the feedback stresses not just listing points, especially in the first part of a speaking test.
Right, you need to develop your answers.
Yeah, give enough detail so the examiner or whoever you're talking to can really get a sense of your language in context.
That makes sense.
And, crucially, directly answer the question asked. Use the right verb tenses.
Basic but important.
And it's framed as a speaking test, not a general knowledge quiz.
Good distinction. It's about how you communicate your ideas, not necessarily having the perfect idea on every single topic.
Exactly. The ability to expand on a point, use language accurately while doing it, that's key.
For any effective communication, really.
Fluency and coherence are also discussed.
Okay.
There was a potential issue with just listing items in part 1.
Not developing enough.
Right. And maybe some ambiguity in the answer about the city question in part 2.
So the takeaway is needing clear, focused answers that flow logically.
Pretty much. But on the plus side, pronunciation was seen as a real strength.
Oh, good.
Praise for clarity, intonation, word and sentence stress, connected speech, all the key things.
That's great.
And importantly, it points out that your accent doesn't affect the score.
That's such an important message for language learners. Focus on clarity, not trying to sound like someone else.
Absolutely. It's about being understood.
Right. The difference between fluency, the smoothness, and coherence, the logical connection, is key too.
Good point. Now, areas for improvement,
Okay.
grammar came up. Specifically, articles and the, those little words.
Notoriously tricky for learners.
Tell me about it. And vocabulary needing a bit more precision, maybe avoiding repetition.
Right, finding the right word.
What's interesting is that even with a generally good command of English, these smaller, frequent slips can still have an impact.
Yeah, they can accumulate.
So the feedback really shows the fine details that matter for effective communication and how they're assessed, at least in a test context.
And that level of detail is useful. It highlights that language learning is about constant refinement, focusing on accuracy, like articles, and more precise vocab. That's practical advice for learners at any level.
Okay, so as we kind of wrap up this step dive, we've gone from Thai curry to potentially robotic cities,
Quite the range.
all sparked by this conversation about language assessment. I think the main takeaways are pretty rich, actually.
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, one, personal preferences, food, travel, whatever they offer, these fascinating windows into our cultural backgrounds, our values.
Yeah, they reveal a lot.
Two, perspectives on city life show that complex mix of opportunity and challenge.
The pros and cons we discussed.
Yeah. And three, even looking through the lens of language assessment, it boils down to clear, detailed, well-developed communication being absolutely key.
Nicely put. This exploration really shows how linked our personal experiences and views are, doesn't it?
And how they come out even in just casual chat. Food, travel, where we live. Our background shapes our views and how we talk about them.
Definitely. And with that in mind, here's maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to chew on.
Okay.
How do your own preferences, your own background, influence how you see the places you've lived? Or maybe the places you dream of visiting?
Oh, good question.
Or maybe think about this. What parts of clear, effective communication do you find most challenging or maybe most rewarding in your own life?
That kind of self-reflection can be really valuable. Understanding your own biases, values, communication style,
Right.
it leads to greater awareness of how you engage with the world, with people.
Well said. We really encourage you to reflect on these things. Understanding them just deepens our grasp of the world and, our connections within it.
Absolutely.
So thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Until our next exploration.